Good evening, YouTube, and welcome back to another episode here at Wildman Lifts. I'm your host, Wildman. Now on this episode, it's evening time, so I'm currently chasing daylight. So it's going to be going dark in the middle of this video, which I kind of like. I enjoy working out at nighttime. It just gets really cold because it's winter time. On today's menu, we're doing the Buffalo bench press, and I'll explain more about this bar later in the video. But the goal is to hit 325 pounds today for one repetition on the Buffalo bar. I'm not going to put a belt on, I'm not going to put wrist straps on, and I'm not going to even out the floor. So it's going to be a lot harder and a lot more pressure on my chest. But that's the goal for the evening. So let's see if I can hit 325 pounds with no equipment. Let's jump in and see what we're doing today. So on today's strength giant set, I'm doing the bench press with the ever wobbly 3-inch deficit Buffalo bar. And the goal is to hit a big PR today without any equipment. I just have those sweat bands on, and that's the only thing I'm gonna have to keep my wrists warm. No belt, no wrist wraps or anything like that. And I'm also gonna be doing some prone rope climbs from the floor just to make sure that I'm working that antagonistic movement and getting some extra athletic movements in between every set. And I'm gonna start off with the Yukon yoke walk at 160 pounds. And towards the end of all my giant sets, that's going to be a much bigger number. So I'm going to keep working up in weight every between my sets. And that's going to be the strength giant set for the day. Now, the last time that I did this type of workout, and I think it was in the same giant set format, same movements and everything, I hit 315 pounds on the Buffalo bench press. And I did that with wrist wraps, with a belt, and my outdoor gym is slightly uneven on the ground comparative to like a leveled building. So I have to use mats in order to make the bench press straight as it would be in a leveled building. But I decided not to do that today. I was really anticipating that I was going to hit a big PR today. I was feeling really good. My pressing has been awesome lately, and so I wanted to give it my best. So normally in my progression, I do 295, but this time I jumped from 275 to 305 pounds. And that's just to make sure that I'm ready to go for this big weight right here, 325 pounds. This is the most I've ever lifted with this bar, and it's the most I've ever lifted without any equipment. And although it was very, very slow in the middle, I was able to control it up and hit that rep. And as you can tell, I was very excited about it. It can be difficult sometimes to know whether or not you are training correctly and that you're using the right movements. So hitting that big weight and without any equipment and not having any injuries or any nagging pains currently, I call that a win. Hello again. So as you can see, this bar is curved. And originally why this bar was made was for squatting. It was for people who have shoulder impingements or don't have the shoulder mobility to get under a straight bar. So I guess the fitness industry titans came up with an idea, and it was to make this kind of curved bar so that it would be able to wrap around your shoulders and bring your shoulders lower, and you'll be able to squat without having any shoulder impingements. If you look at the Arnold Classic from about 2 years ago, they actually had an event where they used this type of curved bar for squatting. Now, the reason why I like to use this bar for bench pressing is for two reasons. Number one, because of its curved shape, it gives about a 3-inch deficit from the top before it touches to your chest as a straight bar does. Anytime that you increase the range of motion on a compound movement, it's always going to be more difficult because you're stretching that muscle out even further. Another reason I like this bar is because due to its curved shape, and it wasn't really meant to be bench pressed, it was meant to be on your back, this thing wobbles a lot. This, ironically, makes the movement a lot harder when you're trying to press it from the bottom. And as a result, you have to go a little bit slower on the lift as you're pressing up, which makes it almost like a paused bench press, which is always hard to do. Now let's jump into the variation giant set. Now for the variation giant set, I was doing 3 rounds of the incline bench press with the Buffalo bar. And I think I did this maybe 4 years ago with this bar, and I think my max for 6 was 225 pounds. So my goal was, since I was still feeling pretty good after that 1 rep max, I was still feeling like my bench was pretty strong. So I wanted to go up to a weight that I haven't done before. So I thought about doing 255 pounds. And the plan was if I didn't hit 6, that was okay. But if I could break it up into 3s. So this was my first set of 3s. And if I could have done more reps, I would have just done it and be done with it. But the 3rd rep went up very, very slow, and I could tell that my form was breaking down. So as a result, I was like, you know what, go ahead and re-rack it, recover a little bit, and then come back to it and do 3 more repetitions, which actually the 3rd rep on this one was a lot easier. And that's why I like to train like that sometimes in reps total schemes, because then sometimes you give your body that break and you're able to hit the big weight a little bit better and a little bit smoother. And for the giant set format, I continued to do my rope climbs, and then I upped the weight to 340 pounds on the yoke. So I did that for 3 rounds in between my sets. And for my assistance giant set, I was doing 3 rounds in my X-wing format, which is I'm working up to a heavy 15 meters Yukon yoke walk. And 520, look at those weights moving around like crazy. That wasn't supposed to happen. So that clearly shows that my core was not stabilizing the implement at all. And I had to work extra hard on this 520, which is a heavy weight, but not usually for me. So I wanted to go heavier than 600 pounds today, but I could just tell that my core was off. So I stuck with 600 pounds and I slow rolled through that whole thing. That was not a good set, but I still was able to carry it after all my PRs. So I was still proud of that. And in between, as I worked up into that heavy Yukon yoke walk, I was doing 20 push-ups on the kettlebell handles. And I love doing this because on the Buffalo bar, since that was unstable, I don't need to do ring push-ups today. So I chose to do these handle push-ups instead because it gives a little bit more stability from the floor. So I was able to work on the muscle rather than working on the stabilizers, because the stabilizers were probably already fried. And I just continued to do my prone floor rope climbs in between every set because that was just the easiest thing to do. And that's what I was warming up with anyways. So that was the assistant giant set, and I did accessories after that, which I didn't film. All right, so that takes us to the end of the workout. 325 bench press on the Buffalo bar and a 600-pound Buffalo bar yoke walk. Can't beat that. And I didn't get injured, and everything is progressing nice and smoothly. I really appreciate everybody watching my channel and liking and subscribing and viewing my videos on the daily. It really helps grow the channel, and I wouldn't be able to do it without you. Until next time, have a good night.